Hello everyone, and welcome for this new release of Xen Orchestra, the release for this month of November 2023, and this is the version 5.89, and I'm pleased to give you a kind of recap on what we did and what's up. So let's go straight into the topic and talk about what's new regarding the community as we are now doing traditionally every month. So, first, you might be aware about what's going on with the what I called when I wrote the blog post called the new virtualization landscape. So, in short, all the consequences of the VMware being acquired by Broadcom for 61 or more than 60 billion anyway, and also noticing the fact that it's not the I would say the first, no, the last consolidation happened in the market. So it's pretty interesting. If you want to take a look on that blog post, you will learn more about what's going on in that market and why we are kind of in the right time on our side with our product stack with both XCP-ng and Orchestra and so on. Then, on another news, the Xen projects 4.18 is here. As you also may know, Xen is now 20 years old, so it's a pretty mature project. And for the last release, we're proud that one of our developer, Alexi, made it into the top 10 contributors to this new release. So it's also a way to demonstrate that we are committed not just to bundle open source into one solution, but also really participate upstream to all the great projects that are used inside XCP and Orchestra and so on. Moving on the EXO team still growing. So last month I announced that we had a new person, Melissa, and this month we got Bastien, who is working more with Julian and Florent on the backend aspect of Xen Orchestra. And we also have Samori, who will work on the Kubernetes chunky Kubernetes cluster deployment project Pyrgos. So as you can see, we are delivering more and more. That's mostly because the team is growing also by a lot. So we are really proud to get new member in the team, and you should see the effects of this pretty quickly. So expect even more features, and knowing that already for this November release, we managed to get something like 20 plus new features and improvements. So it's already pretty decent, but we won't reduce that pace. It will go even faster. We also need you on another topic to provide us some feedback on our new Rust Linux tools for your virtual machines. So it's usable already. It works. It's a lot better than the Xen server tools for Linux that are written in Go. And it's faster. It's safer, I would say. So please test it and report it on the forum, because we are really happy to find bugs, and as usual we thanks the community for helping us to squash those bugs and even detect them, because the number more there's people testing it, faster we could release them for production. That's it for the community, and now let's enter the main topic of this Xen Orchestra release. So, as often as we do, we talk about the backups. So, for this month, we managed to release a pretty interesting feature that is called differential restore. So, in very short, in a nutshell, I would say it allows you to restore on a storage repository if you still have the original VM, instead of restoring the whole blocks from zero like a full. If it detects a previously similar VM that is used for the backup, the original VM, if you like, it will be used as a base. So it will only send back the differential. So, for example, your VM got a snapshot, and the last snapshot will be used as the base, just in read-only, obviously, to restore the VM you want to restore. So it could be few minutes instead of hours to restore, thanks to this differential restore. So test it and report it. But yeah, clearly our tests are really impressive and demonstrate that now we could restore even faster than before. Let's move on, still on the backup. So those are most quality improvements stuff, but quality of life improvement. But in the end, It's also very useful. So you have more details when you restore your VM regarding when it was restored in the description, from which backup repository. So that is also something that could be, I would say, even more than useful if you have multiple backup repositories and such. So really a big quality of life improvement when you restore VMs. So something that could be a almost lifesaver if you start to have a many backup repositories and VMs. Moving on the API CLI file level restore. So it's a pretty long explanation in the blog post, but again, if I make a simple recap, for now, you could, let's say, basically restore directly from the browser. It works very well. You get a zip file in your browser, that's fine. But maybe you want to, I don't know, make a copy directly from your Xen Orchestra appliance to a destination without having to download those files in a browser. So right now you can do that. It will be mounted from the CLI, XOCLI, or an API call, and it will be mounted inside Xen Orchestra appliance. Then you could use any rsync, whatever tool you want to restore the file, like from the CLI. So this gives you a huge flexibility for the file level restore, and we gave a full example on how to achieve that in the blog post if you want to experiment it. So that's it for the backup. Let's switch now to Xolite. So as you know, Xolite is the small version, like the little brother of Xen Orchestra, that is directly bundled in XCP-ng 8.3, which, by the way, we should have a new RC or Beta 2 before Christmas, so stay tuned. Anyway, we made multiple improvements on Xolite, in fact, many improvements this month. First, it's not yet in the blog post, but it will be in a few minutes. We have now, let's say, a changelog for this Xolite specific project. So you will be able to get access to this changelog and see what's going on exactly, like we have a changelog for Xen Orchestra. First, let's talk about the new, let's say, denser UI. So after many user feedback, we decided that we could cram more information in the same surface, so increasing the density of information. And so we did that. And in fact, the result is pretty cool because, as you can see before and after, we could have far more VMs displayed on the left menu and without doing any sacrifice on the legibility. So thanks again for the community for this kind of feedback, and this helps a lot to improve the new UI that might also kind of be reused for the XO 6 version. That will be a complete revamp of the current Xen Orchestra interface. The other improvement on Xolite are related to XVA export. So you can now export VM directly from Xolite through your browser. And the perk going with it is not just exporting one VM, but even multiple VMs at once. So it's pretty useful if you want to get your XVA quickly without having to deploy any Xen Orchestra appliance. So works pretty well. And the next improvement is related to VM migration. Now you could migrate VMs inside your cluster, inside your pool. So we are going closer and closer to a tool that could replace, I would say, Xen Center or XCP-ng Center for all basic operation, which is the end goal of Xolite, by the way. Also, a small improvement, but in a way that could help you a lot. If you are connecting or asking the UI to connect to a pool member that is not the master, you will have a clear message that's wait, that's not the master. The master is here. Go ahead, click on this link, and you will be there. So previously you had the login thing, and it caused a cryptic error, and we fixed that. So now it's a lot easier to be sure that you won't make a mistake. If you access a non-master, then you will be able to understand that pretty well. Another let's say quick and interesting thing is now you could load Xolite from a host, no problem, but you could even redirect on the master it connects by adding master in the URL. So you could use Xolite from 8.3 to manage on 8.2 without modifying it, or whatever, any hosts that could work with it. I suspect it might also work with Zen server. So if there's some crazy people around that want to make the test for the fun, feel free to go ahead. I think it should work. Moving on, REST API. So we continue to invest a lot of resources to build you an API that is really simple to use without needing any pre-configuration except having a token. And this month we released the fact that you can display and list all your Xen Orchestra users. So it's pretty simple and straightforward. You just see what is written in the blog posts. But anyway, that's very convenient, and you can even get the SSH keys, the public SSH keys, directly displayed inside your after a curl or HTTP call. So pretty handy. And the other cool features with the REST API are importing VDI content. So importing VDI content is not like importing a VDI from scratch, I would say. You want to, let's say, write content into an existing VDI. That could be useful if you want to, I don't know, go back in time with a VHD file that you already have or raw file. You could directly rewrite into it as long as it's having the same size. So there's many fun use cases you might have for this. But anyway, that's available directly with the REST API now. And you could also import an XVA, so also pretty handy if you don't want to open your web browser to do it. You just make a curl request from your laptop, desktop, whatever machine remotely, and you can import that XVA directly through the Xen Orchestra API. And finally, for the REST API stuff, you can now add or remove tags directly from a simple HTTP call. So it's pretty simple, and it allows you to use, let's say, more automation. If you want to use tags for whatever scripts or things like this, you can now create and remove them on the fly just by simple HTTP call. So also it was requested by many users that are using automation and things like this. So simple call, just an HTTP request, and you got your tags created or removed. And that's it for the REST API. Now switching to Netbox. As you can see, there's many things. So we did many improvement on Netbox last July, so a few months ago. But we decided to go even further and synchronize the XO users with what is called tenants inside Netbox. A tenant could be, for example, a user, and in our context, it's a user, for example, that may have created the virtual machine. So because in Xen Orchestra, you know who created the VM, you could even synchronize that information to Netbox. So you are aware on who created that virtual machine directly in Netbox without even having to take a look into Xen Orchestra. It's an opt-in feature, so you have to enable it in the plugin. And also don't forget to enable UID fields for tenancy / tenants to be sure it's synchronized correctly. So again, feedback is welcome. And as you can see, the Netbox plugin is starting to be really great with many features allowing you to have best of both Netbox and Xen Orchestra working together. Small, let's say, degradation or not, but we have a feature that is not usable right now in 8.2 regarding XCP-ng, but that will work for XCP-ng 8.3, which is already available in beta 1 already. Since the upstream, the SMAPI Zappy tool stack added the task tracking of a coalesce activity in the storage, we made it appear in a way with resolving links, because the task is just basically telling you, oh yes, there is a garbage collection, which is coalesce on the UID blah blah blah, and on this pool or host UID blah blah blah, and it doesn't give you an indication what is this host, so, or this storage. So we made that translation in on the fly, let's say directly in Xen Orchestra. So you could just click on the link and see the storage that have the coalesce working on. So it's also useful quality of life improvement. And if you are already using 8.3, you can already enjoy this improvement. Let's now switch to the Misc section. So I will go pretty fast because there's many small improvements. But in a nutshell, now we removed useless VDI in the health view because they are not relevant for potential, let's say, health issue regarding cluster. We improved the token management inside the UI. So in terms of security, this one is pretty neat. Now you could know exactly the user agent of the person who's accessing to your accounts. So it's on your account zone. So if you log in with a Windows PC, a Linux PC, or different browsers, you will exactly have the trace on this. And the token is reused as long as possible instead of creating one token every login, which was the case before and caused a lot of, let's say, unreadable lists of connection. Now it's easy to read and easy to understand if there is something weird or something that could have been compromised, for example. So it's for transparency, when, how, which browser, and we will add the IP address, by the way, very soon, probably in the next release. So it helps to keep things secure because you know exactly what's going on in your Xen Orchestra. Then let's switch to the 5 features left. So as I said, there's many things. The first one is boot a VM with a disk with an ISO. So for some cases where people have a template with a disk, you can now boot it if you want with an ISO for whatever reason. It was asked by the community. Usually you just boot directly on the disk with, I don't know, cloud in it, but some people wanted to also use an ISO in parallel for their reason. So we added that feature and it works now out of the box. Also, disabling the console view, it was like for mimicking the way that Zen Center is working, because in Zen Center, if you added the key disable PV VNC in other config of the virtual machine, then Zen Center decided to hide the console. So we decided to do the exact same behavior, so people that disable it in Zen Center won't have any surprise to see it in Xen Orchestra. It will be also disabled. It might have some, requirements. For example, if you want to delegate a permission to view the VM but not see the console for whatever reason, then now you can do that with this other config extra key that you could put, and it's improving the compatibility between Zen Center and Xen Orchestra. Okay, going to the last 3, improving. So both those 2 features, show disk import status and show import task progress, is basically the idea that when you import or restore a VM backup, it's a lot easier now to track what's going on without having to go specifically to the task view. The task will be directly displayed in the VM disk view. So you don't have to go elsewhere to track what's going on the VM you are importing. So it's a pretty big quality of life improvement. Also for our new users that never experienced it before, now you can track more easily what's going on when you restore or import a VM. And finally, because we have 1 or 2 feedback on people who didn't really read carefully the message when they forgot a storage repository. As you may or may not know, if you forgot a repository, it won't erase any file, but you will lose all the metadata about the name of the VDI of the disk, but also to which VM it's connected. So if you want to do it now, you have to type forget this SR to be sure you know exactly what you do. So that's why we made that in this release. So at least we will avoid any let's say confusion about what this feature is doing. And again, thanks for the community to give up a tip, because from our perspective we know what it does, but if you are discovering the software, yeah, it's better to have your point of view and be sure that you won't do it by mistake. So that's it. As you could see, it's this release is packed with many features. Again, 20 plus improvement in features. We are really proud to manage to deliver that for this month of November. And again, as the team is growing, you could expect more and more coming the next month. So we have really exciting plans for next year. But anyway, you will have the December release and another live where we talk maybe a bit more about this. So I hope you enjoy this video. Let me know if you have any comments. And thanks for attending, and see you. Bye-bye.